I was the first one to drive a convertible on my reservation, and of course it was red, a red Olds. I owned that car along with my brother Henry Jr. We owned it together until his boots filled with water on a windy night and he bought out my share. Now Henry owns the whole car, and his younger brother Lyman, that's myself, Lyman walks everywhere he goes. How did I earn enough money to buy my share in the first place? My one talent was I could always make money. I had a touch for it, unusual in a Chippewa. From the first, I was different that way, and everyone recognized it. I was the only kid they let in the American Legion Hall to shine shoes, for example, and one Christmas I sold spiritual bouquets for the mission door to door. The nuns let me keep a percentage. Once I started, it seemed the more money I made, the easier the money came. Everyone encouraged it. When I was 15, I got a job washing dishes at the Joliet Cafe, and that was where my first big break happened. It wasn't long before I was promoted to bussing tables. And then the short order cook quit, and I was hired to take her place. No sooner than you know it, I was managing the Joliet. The rest is history. I went on managing. I soon became part owner, and of course there was no stopping me then. It wasn't long before the whole thing was mine. After I owned the Joliet for 1 year, it blew over in the worst tornado ever seen around here. The whole operation was smashed to bits, a total loss. The fry leader was up in the tree, the grill torn in half like it was paper. I was only 16. I had it all in my mother's name, and I lost it quick, but before I lost it, I had every one of my relatives and their relatives to dinner, and I also bought that red Olds I mentioned, along with Henry. The first time we saw it, I'll tell you when we first saw it. We had gotten a ride up to Winnipeg, and both of us had money. Don't ask me why, because we never mentioned a car or anything. We just had all our money. Mine was cash, a big bankroll from the Joliet's insurance. Henry had 2 checks, a week's extra pay for being laid off, and his regular check from the jewel-bearing plant. We were walking down Portage anyway, seeing the sights when we saw it. There it was, parked, large as life, really as if it was alive. I thought of the word repose, because the car simply stopped, parked, or whatever. That car reposed, calm and gleaming, a for sale sign in its left front window. Then, before we had thought it all over at all, the car belonged to us, and our pockets were empty. We had just enough money for gas back home. We went places in that car, me and Henry. We took off driving all one whole summer. We started off toward the Little Knife River and Mandaree and Fort Berthold, and then we found ourselves down in Waukepa somehow, and then suddenly we were over in Montana on the Rocky Boy, and yet summer was not even half over. Some people hang on to details when they travel, but we didn't let them bother us, and we just lived our everyday lives here to there. I do remember this one place with willows. I remember I lay under those trees, and it was comfortable, so comfortable. The branches bent down all around me like a tent or a stable. And quiet. It was quiet, even though there was a powwow close enough so I could see it going on. The air was not too still, not too windy either. When the dust rises up and hangs in the air around the dancers like that, I feel good. Henry was asleep with his arms thrown wide. Later on, he woke up and we started driving again. We were somewhere in Montana, or maybe on the Blood Reserve. It could have been anywhere. Anyway, it was where we met the girl. All her hair was in buns around her ears. That's the first thing I noticed about her. She was posed alongside the road with her arm out, so we stopped. That girl was short, so short her lumber shirt looked comical on her like a nightgown. She had jeans on and fancy moccasins, and she carried a little suitcase. "Hop on in," says Henry, so she climbs in between us. "We'll take you home," I says. "Where do you live?" "Chicken," she says. "Where the hell is that?" I ask her. "Alaska." "Okay," says Henry, and we drive. We got up there and never wanted to leave. The sun doesn't truly set there in summer, and the night is more a soft dusk. You might doze off sometimes, but before you know it, you're up again like an animal in nature. You never feel like you have to sleep hard or put away the world. And things would grow up there. One day just dirt or moss, the next day flowers and long grass. The girl's name was Susie. Her family really took to us. They fed us and put us up. We had our own tent to live in by their house, and the kids would be in and out of there all day and night. They couldn't get over me and Henry being brothers. We looked so different. We told them we knew we had the same mother anyway. One night Susie came in to visit us. We sat around in the tent talking of this and that. The season was changing. It was getting darker by that time, and the cold was even getting just a little mean. I told her it was time for us to go. She stood up on a chair. "You never see my hair," Susie said. That was true. She was standing on a chair, but still, when she unclipped her buns, the hair reached all the way down to the ground. Our eyes opened. You couldn't tell how much hair she had when it was rolled up so neatly. Then my brother Henry did something funny. He went to the chair and said, "Jump on my shoulders." So she did that, and her hair reached down past his waist, and he started twirling this way and that, so her hair was flung out from side to side. "I always wonder what it's like to have long, pretty hair," Henry says. Well, we laughed. It was a funny sight the way he did it. The next morning we got up and took leave of those people.